Monday mornings were the worst. Everyone needed something right away. Everything was crucial. As much as I wanted advancement in this company, I planned to work towards something more than what my boss, Lola, did, coordinating schedules. I spent the morning entering new templates for inter-office memos, which I considered ridiculous busy work. But personnel wanted each department to have a uniquely colored memo so they could tell at a glance which department the correspondence was coming from. Just an easier way for Anita, aka Attila, to avoid those emails she didn't want to deal with. I'd brought my lunch and ate with my coworker Sydney in the break room. She'd had a date this weekend with a guy she'd connected with through an online dating service, so I had to hear all the pros and cons about whether she should agree to a second date. What she told me about the man didn't trip any warning bells, but I knew the guy wouldn't trip my trigger either. "Lennox, you should totally join the service," Sydney said for the 100th time. "I bet you'd have hundreds of guys signing up to take you out." "Sid, I'm happy that this is working out for you, but I'm just not the type to let a computer pick a match for me." "That's what it does! It finds your type. It really works." "So I've heard, but I still have a problem meeting a guy who could have totally lied about who he is just to get a hookup." "You make it sound like an escort service." I wiped my mouth. "No, with an escort service, you know exactly what you paid for going into it. With online dating, not so much." "You are impossible," Sydney complained. "Wrong, I'm practical." "So very glad to hear that, Lennox." Thankfully, all I did was gasp with surprise at Brady Lund's interruption. But he had scared me enough that I threw my bag of chips all over the table. My face flamed. "Didn't mean to frighten you." "Yes, you did." "Then maybe you shouldn't sneak up behind people." Crap. Had I really said that to him? What was wrong with me? Why was I always as prickly as a cactus around him? He chuckled. I looked up at him. Mistake. Few men wore a suit as well as Mr. Perfect. My thoughts rolled back to how he'd dressed for his date on Saturday night. If I were dating him, I wouldn't want him in casual attire. I'd want the hot-looking suit and tie-wearing guy. When he continued to stare at me, I said, "Was there something you needed, Mr. Lund?" "Yes. You'll be assisting my admin today in the conference room since her secretary is out sick." He held up his hand before I opened my mouth. "I know protocol, Lennox. I cleared this with your supervisor." "And Lola sent the CFO of Lund Industries as the errand boy to tell me?" "Damn it, mouth, do not engage before brain." "No, I came in here to get my lunch." Now I really felt like an idiot. A sassy idiot. This was a large employee break room. It served the whole building, the entire company. Sometimes we even had catered lunches in here. But in the last year, I'd never seen the CFO step foot in here, let alone admit that he brown-bagged it once in a while. "I'm sorry, I just assumed that I don't eat lunch?" He flashed his teeth in a predatory smile. "Or that I prefer raw meat tossed in my office rather than swimming around looking for chum?" I couldn't help but smile. Of course he was aware of his reputation as a shark, and it was really hard for me not to make a crack about sushi. He walked over to the fridge, and I told myself not to gawk, but my greedy side ogled him. The way his suit pants rippled as he walked, and how broad his shoulders looked in that perfectly cut suit jacket when he bent over. Sydney kicked me under the table, so I was innocently picking up my chips when he turned around. And I might have peeked at what he had in his lunch, a takeout deli salad, which he apologized for. "I was supposed to meet my sister for lunch, but she had some crisis in PR, so she's placating me with this." He sighed. "I'd really hoped for something more substantial." "Me too, but the lunch fairies are stingy today," Sydney said. She always knew what to say. But the CFO paid no attention to her. He zeroed in on me. "You know where my office is?"